And I allowed them to believe I was in touch with Allie Carter, that she said she was in trouble and she needed my help. And the second that I did that, 8 different content creators instantly went to work, tearing Allie Carter apart.
Yes, there were shrines used for rituals. There's bloody places. There's parts where there's limbs. People cut off limbs and want you to have sex. There's blood. There's blood that I don't even know who it belongs to. There's a lot.
And he beat the hell out of me. He cracked my ribs.
Those are assault parties, and I was one of the kids that was one of the party favors. And a party favors means that you're set on top of a table and you're used as a toy.
Her name is Allie Carter, and she says she barely made it out alive. For years, this woman has been online, going live, posting raw and unfiltered videos, speaking in a way that never felt rehearsed, telling anyone willing to listen exactly what she claims happened to her as a child. And for a long time, almost nobody took her seriously. Her words sat out in the open, ignored, dismissed, or written off as something people did not want to engage with, because the implications were too heavy to confront directly. Then the situation around Sean Diddy Combs shifted, and suddenly everything Ollie had been saying started to sound different. Not proven, not confirmed, but no longer easy to brush aside. The timing changed how people listened. Allie Carter is a self-described survivor, and since 2020, she has been speaking publicly, describing events that most people struggle to even process. The details she shares are not structured for comfort. They are fragmented, intense, and delivered without the kind of polish that usually makes stories easier to accept. She was not pointing at one individual. She was describing something broader, something organized, a network, a system. She referenced names, faces that people recognize, places that exist far outside the reach of ordinary access. And the part that continues to hold attention is not just what she said, but when she said it. These claims were being made years before documents, flight logs, and legal cases began circulating publicly. That sequence matters because it shifts how her timeline is viewed, even if the claims themselves remain unverified. So the question becomes unavoidable. Who is Allie Carter? What exactly has she been saying? And why is it being revisited now with a different level of attention?
Yes, there were shrines used for rituals. There's bloody places. There's parts where there's limbs. People cut off limbs and want you to have. There's blood. There's blood that I don't even know who it belongs to. There's a lot.
So hang on. So someone like the people that you've named are here at these shrines where there is human flesh, bones, human body parts, and they want people to participate in amongst all of this human blood. Is that a satanic ritual? Feces? Is this a satanic ritual that they are participating in?
Yes. Yes, there's people who want to, there's people who have animals, dead animals. I was taken and told that I had to give a blowjob to Biden.
So Joe Biden was there at this shrine.
Mm-hmm. Something happened. I don't know what happened. I was down there for a while. There's certain people that you don't talk about because you just don't. There were certain people that I seen down there, from Beyonce, Jay-Z. You don't tell on P. Diddy, but P. Diddy.
So you said you don't tell on these people. Is that like a code that all victims adhere to? They don't talk about this stuff?
Yes, you don't, because nobody's going to believe you. You're nothing to them. You don't count. You're just a toy. You're not essential, as they call them. You're expendable. And as a child in that situation, I wasn't the type of person that was fighting all the time, because I started to learn who I was. I started to learn my pimp. I started to learn what I was in. I started to learn that you don't fight. You watch what you say, you watch what you do. And at some point I stopped fighting people, and I started to accept the fact of what I was told, that I was special enough to be with this person. I was special enough to be in the eyes of a celebrity or somebody who was on the radio or on TV. And I accepted that.
There is no official status that defines her. She is not a celebrity. She is not a public official. She is a regular woman from California who first gained widespread attention in November 2020 after posting a series of videos describing what she says she experienced as a child. The way those videos spread was not driven by mainstream coverage, but by repetition and persistence. According to Ali, she was trafficked, meaning she describes being moved, controlled, and exploited from a very young age. She insists this did not begin with a random individual or a single isolated incident. Instead, she frames it as something that started within systems that are meant to provide protection. She specifically points to Child Protective Services, an institution that exists to safeguard children. She claims that Riverside County CPS played a role in directing children, including herself, into a broader network of exploitation. These are serious claims, and they remain allegations, but the consistency of how she presents them is part of why they continue to circulate. She has stated that she spent months gathering what she believed to be evidence, attempting to present it to authorities, only to be ignored. From her perspective, the case did not just stall, it was buried. That belief shapes everything that came after, because it explains why she turned to public platforms instead of official channels. And once she started speaking, she did not stop. Ali describes being taken to gatherings that she characterizes as private, high-level events. She refers to them as elite parties, environments where she claims children were present and treated as objects rather than individuals. In her own words, she described herself as a party favor, a term that stands out not because of exaggeration, but because of how direct it is. She maintains that the adults present were aware of what was happening, and instead of intervening, they protected each other. That detail, whether believed or not, is central to how her story is framed. After she went public in 2020, she says her family lost nearly everything. Their home, their animals, their stability. The situation around her deteriorated quickly, yet she continued speaking. That persistence is part of what keeps her narrative in circulation. It suggests that, at minimum, she believes the consequences of staying silent would be worse than the consequences she has already faced. This is where her account expands beyond isolated claims and begins to connect to something larger. Ali has repeatedly stated that she was taken to a private island, not described vaguely, but as a controlled environment used by individuals with significant power and influence. According to her, it was a place where actions remained hidden. Not because they were unknown, but because the people involved had the resources to ensure nothing surfaced publicly. That claim sits at the center of why her story continues to resurface, especially as broader conversations around similar allegations gain attention. She talks about being moved through underground tunnels, under schools, under amusement parks, even beneath cemeteries. And before anyone dismisses that outright, it is important to understand what is being presented here. This is her testimony, her lived experience, as she remembers and describes it, not a confirmed map of reality, but a consistent narrative she has repeated over time. The way she explains it, these movements were not random. They followed patterns, routes that she believes were deliberately designed to keep everything hidden from public view, far removed from anything that could be easily exposed or verified. She also speaks about the island itself, not in vague terms, but with specific focus on structure and control. It's the way she describes it. Everything was organized, layered with secrecy, and tightly managed. According to her, the people who operated there functioned outside anything resembling normal society. Translated by influence, wealth, and a level of coordination that made outside interference nearly impossible. That detail becomes central because it suggests not chaos, but structure, not random events, but something she believes was systemized. And this is where attention sharpens. She was saying all of this years before documents, flight logs, and court cases entered public discussion.
There's an arrest coming. There's actually 2 arrests that are already made. There's a 3rd one coming. I don't know why people are sitting on this. I'm ready. I see that some people are not. I've been ready. A lot of you are ready. Like, let's get this right? You're like, just release it. Just drop it. For whatever reason, even on the Ghislaine Maxwell case, people are holding on to names because they know it's going to destroy some of these celebrities because you guys love them. It's going to destroy a lot of these celebrities because they know they're wrong. They've been doing this for decades. They've been putting it in your face. They've been mocking their victims, and they've gotten away with it because who they keep in their back pocket and who they pay. There is a 3rd arrest that is coming. There's 2 that's already down. There's a raid that's about to go on. And on top of that, it's somebody that has something to do with an affidavit that I have already released. I am telling you, we know that it's coming. I knew it was coming when I made sure there was sworn and legal affidavits already ready 6 to 8 months ago. I'm telling you right now that they're about to grab them and they're about to announce it. When they announce it, we got a problem. We got a big problem. Because there's ways that this is about to go. I think a lot of you guys are everybody is like, we're ready. We're ready until it's happening. And then everybody's like, well, I wasn't ready. Yeah.
There's gonna be a lot of that.
There's no other way to get ready. There's no other way to prepare. There's no protocol for what's about to happen. The world is going to crumble when they see this next arrest. In the meantime, there's going to be deaths, distractions, and fires to hide evidence. Watch for it. Ask questions. Demand answers. You know who's on those flight logs. You do. You know who should be arrested. You all do. You know that laptop from hell is real. You know that the black book is real. You know Ghislaine Maxwell's customers are who everybody is watching in the everyday news, including those who you drop your kids off with every day. Your schools, your doctors, big banks, Chase Bank, Bank of America. There is a lot of people that are attached because this goes very deep. I told y'all this is a spider web that is tangled and tangled and tangled and woven intricately. I am telling you right now that once one goes, it's going to pull on a big string. That arrest is coming. 90s, we need your help.
Years before the broader conversation about powerful figures in private islands reached mainstream awareness, she was not reacting to headlines. She was speaking long before those headlines existed. That sequence alone is what keeps her story circulating because it creates a timeline that people cannot easily ignore, even if they question the claims themselves. Whether every detail she has shared is accepted or not, one thing remains difficult to overlook. Ally Carter has been consistent. Across interviews, live streams, and repeated public statements, the core of her story has not shifted. In cases involving serious allegations, consistency is not a minor detail. It becomes one of the few measurable elements observers can track over time. It does not confirm accuracy, but it does reinforce that the narrative is not changing to match external developments. Then the focus shifts to Sean Diddy Combs. For decades, been one of the most influential figures in the music industry. Central presence at events that drew in nearly every major name in entertainment. His gatherings were known for exclusivity, for access, for influence. For a long time, he appeared completely untouchable, operating at a level where scrutiny rarely translated into consequence. Ally Carter had been speaking about him long before his arrest in September 2024. Long before surveillance footage circulated publicly. Long before multiple lawsuits began to surface. She described attending what she referred to as his parties, but she made a clear distinction. In her account, these were not simply adult gatherings that escalated. She described them, using her own language, as something far more structured and ritualistic, and she maintained that children were present within those environments. She introduced what she called the party favor effect, a term she used to describe how certain individuals at these events were not there by choice or status. According to her, they were brought in, used, and then removed without acknowledgement or accountability. She said she was one of those children. The claim, repeated multiple times, sits at the center of her narrative and defines how she frames those events.
You're telling me at the freak-off parties, they put children on the table instead of gift bags, and then people can do what?
Take you off the table and have sex, even though it's against the rules to do certain things like or full health. And that's against the rules. Like for me, that was against the rules, but that didn't matter. That did not matter.
So they come choose you off the table, do whatever they want with you, and then what happens?
And they put you back on the table.
They put you back on the table for somebody else to come choose you? Okay. That's called a party favor effect. That's just one of the little things that go on at the freak-off parties with children. Were there animals there?
Goats.
Did they turn the animals loose on the kids?
Yeah.
And if you got sick and threw up because it was so disgusting, what happened?
You had to eat it.
You had to eat your vomit if you threw up. That's satanic ritual abuse. Diddy was at this party? Denzel Washington was at this party?
Yep.
Birdman was at this party?
Yes, he was.
And Young Jock?
Yep.
And you're telling me Denzel was there and it was after 1 o'clock when he supposedly left?
And beanie, socks, and a gold chain.
So you're telling me Denzel Washington was butt naked, he had a beanie on, socks on, and a gold chain, and that's it. In front of children.
Yep.
Funny. Because he sure portrays himself to be holier than thou.
Yep. So a lot of them do.
I think you also told me that one of those men have a birthmark.
Left thigh.
One of those men have a birthmark on their left thigh.
Yep.
Did you have sexual interactions with Diddy?
Yep.
Denzel? And I know we don't tell on Denzel. You might not tell on Denzel, but your mama gonna tell on everybody. I ain't keeping no pet secrets. Denzel?
Yep.
Birdman? Did Birdman promise you things?
So much. Like what he promised Lil Wayne at a young age. Because we shared the system together. Shared birthday together too.
I know a lot of you have seen P. Diddy get guardianship of a lot of young kids. That means he holds their contracts. I know you heard me talk about Ali's contract and how often it gets auctioned off, and the things that come from that when it's auctioned. So when you're seeing that he was a guardian for these children, he's holding their MK Ultra contracts is what that translates to. Were you the only child at this party?
No. Not at all. There's so many kids at this party.
Were there also so many celebrities?
Yep. That whole they leave at a certain time, that's not true. Everybody has to take DNA test, saliva test, blood tests, give up your phone, give up information, any trackers or locations, no weapons, no cameras.
When Sean Diddy Combs was eventually arrested, her reaction did not match what many expected. It was not framed as validation or relief. It was shock. She said directly on camera, "I never thought it would happen." That moment carries weight, as it reflects her own lack of confidence in the system she had been criticizing for years. She had been naming him publicly, consistently, yet even she did not believe accountability would come. Her personal situation had already deteriorated after she went public. She lost her home, her stability, and still continued to speak. That persistence, regardless of how her claims are interpreted, is part of what keeps her narrative active. It suggests that from her perspective, the risk of silence was greater than the consequences she experienced. Then her claims expand further, moving beyond a single individual. Ali Carter has also made allegations involving some of the most recognized figures in entertainment. She has referenced names such as Jay-Z, Oprah Winfrey, Denzel Washington, and Katy Perry. The scope of those claims increases the intensity of the discussion, but it also requires clear context. These remain allegations made by one individual. None of the people mentioned have been charged or convicted in connection with what she describes. That distinction is critical, because it separates verified legal outcomes from personal testimony.
Whatsoever. And she was made out to be the crazy one. I was made out to be the crazy one. I was a high-risk kid. I was moved from foster homes to level 14 lockdown group homes. And every single time something happened, every single time I came in with cracked ribs, with bruises, with bites, with beyond, no one did anything. I went from shelter to shelter, from CPS report to CPS report. And CPS is your cover-up. CPS is corrupt. CPS buys and sells and trades children. That is their major facade. There are some good social workers out there, and there are some social workers that know that they cannot speak on things, they cannot do certain things, and they have to abide by certain rules, because if you don't, you will be abused too, just like there is in the Brotherhood Freemason Cops. There is a secret society in the Freemason Cops as well. We are not safe. We have been threatened, harassed, stalked, and hunted down because I mentioned that I was trafficked under the Getty Museum. I have so much evidence. I have so much information, but I don't know who to give it to, and I don't know who to honestly talk to, because there's nothing that has come of it. I don't know if Trump is going to do something, because that's the only reason why I do have something to believe in Trump, because he has given money to trafficking organizations, but 501c3s are cover-ups too. So what exactly and where exactly is this money going, and is there any really help? Because there's not. While we're out here, our house has been broken into. I'm sorry. Our animals have been killed. We have been away from our home for a year. We can't go back without police coming out and asking us where we have been. We have been stopped and pulled over in 8 states without a ticket, without a warning, and without any logical reason. They just want to know where our car is, what time that we'll be back, where are we parked, and how long will we be out, and how much money do we have. This is not normal. And everybody knows that something is wrong.
So when you say that Trump has given money to trafficking organizations, you mean organizations that fight trafficking, right?
Human trafficking.
I just want to make sure that I understand that. He's not participating in funding human trafficking.
No, that's not what I believe, and no, that is not what I've ever heard. I believe that Trump has done something because he is the only president that has mentioned it, and Trump is the only person that I haven't seen, to be honest with you.
So firsthand, these people were in a room with you and I mean, there's no other, I want to be absolutely 100% candid. Barack Obama, yes. Joe Biden, these people raped you. And you say that you have these mountains of evidence that nobody wants to look at. What evidence do you have?
We have police reports, we have information, we have videos, we have so much. But again, there's so much that I can't put completely out there, and I have mountains of it.
In the case of Denzel Washington, there have been separate reports suggesting he left a gathering hosted by Diddy after becoming uncomfortable, a detail that circulates independently of Ali's claims and adds another layer to how these events are interpreted. What was reportedly witnessed there becomes a different kind of conversation entirely, one that does not rely on broad claims but on specific accounts that continue to circulate. And that is exactly what keeps attention on Ali Carter's statements. It is not just the names, it is the level of detail. She is not presenting loose accusations for shock value. She's describing events, locations, behaviors, and patterns she says she personally experienced or observed. That level of specificity is what makes her account harder to dismiss outright, even for those who remain skeptical of the full picture. The name Jay-Z gained more visibility in this conversation after separate civil lawsuits surfaced, placing him in proximity to allegations tied to a similar time period. Ali had already been referencing him before those filings became widely discussed. He has denied those accusations, and that remains an important distinction. What Ali did, and what very few individuals have done publicly without institutional backing, was attempt to connect multiple elements into a single narrative. No legal team shaping her words, no media strategy controlling timing, no protection that usually comes with influence or resources. She spoke directly, repeatedly, and without adjustment. The more her full story is heard in sequence, the more difficult it becomes to simply ignore, regardless of whether it is accepted. Stepping back, her account does not exist on its own. The private island she references aligns with a location that has already entered public awareness through legal appos, proceedings, and investigative reporting. The island connected to Jeffrey Epstein became one of the most scrutinized places in recent history. Flight logs, guest lists, and court documents began to surface over time. Not all at once, but gradually, through legal pressure and ordered disclosures. Those records describe something broader than a single individual or isolated incidents. They point toward a network, a structure involving multiple people, roles, and layers of interaction. What those documents outline is not simple. It suggests an environment where some individuals participated directly, others were aware and remained silent, and some chose to look away. That layered dynamic is what continues to raise questions.
There are children under your feet. There are children in your face. You walk past a survivor and you interacted with a trafficker today. Do you understand the world and the war that we are in, that everybody keeps going back and, oh no, it's not true. And oops, wait a minute. Did Jay-Z, is Jay-Z on the news? Is he Rock Nation? Are you kidding me? I liked him. Same thing you said about Diddy. Same thing you'll say about the Beehive. It's the same thing you'll say about Ellen DeGeneres. It's the same thing you'll say about Oprah. What will probably throw you is when you find out that it's the same thing you're going to say about your teachers in your schools. The same thing you're going to say about your police authority that you thought you could call. The same thing you will say about who sits behind 911, who sits behind the trash, who sits behind Child Protective Services. Do you understand where those kids are coming from? Do you? How many children do you know are being tortured? How many children did you miss? Because a lot of y'all are late. I'm not mad at you for that. I'm late too. Okay? Because for a minute I was like, I'm tired. I know that nothing's gonna happen. And then we sit here today, December 10th of 2024, and mainstream media might be talking about the 13-year-old girl, but they're not talking about all the under 13-year-old girls. They called them underage prostitutes. There's no such thing as an underage prostitute. These attorneys that are sitting everywhere, shame on you. Because this is why we won't trust one. I don't trust y'all. There's a lot of people who are like, why aren't you on these cases? Do you not see what I see? Let me help you. Let me help you. These attorneys are paid off. In a minute, somebody will flip somebody's evidence. In a minute, it's not going to matter what happened in the court, because the court, you see what Diddy's doing? He will eventually, how? Let me ask you this. Who has family that's been to jail? Who has family that has committed a crime? Who has family that's just been pulled over for nothing? Okay? Who has family that has been to court over a parking ticket? Who knows that when you end up in jail, ain't a damn thing confidential, but it is for elite.
Ali describes what she calls the network in similar terms. Not as a single event or location, but as a system. She speaks about recruiters, transportation routes, financial exchanges, and multiple layers of protection built into its operation. According to her, those layers extended into institutions that were expected to prevent this kind of activity. She claims she was moved through locations in Los Angeles that would not normally be associated with anything hidden. She references movement beneath buildings, including areas near places like the Getty Center, describing tunnels connecting spaces that would appear unrelated on the surface. These claims remain unverified, and that context is necessary. Not every detail she provides can be confirmed. Some may never be. But what has changed over time is how those claims are received. As more documents have been released publicly, certain elements that once sounded impossible are now viewed with more caution rather than immediate dismissal. The existence of a network, at least in part, is no longer widely disputed in the public conversation. The scale, the participants, and the full extent remain unclear, but the concept itself has moved from speculation into documented discussion. That shift is what keeps her story relevant. It does not validate every claim, but it changes the environment in which those claims are evaluated. This is where the situation expands beyond individuals and begins to reflect on entire industries. The focus moves toward environments like Hollywood, the music business, and major media spaces. The question is not just what happened, but how silence was maintained for so long. Events described as exclusive gatherings were attended by large numbers of people connected to those industries: executives, artists, journalists, individuals with awareness of the environments they were entering. And yet, for years, very little surfaced publicly. The reasons behind that silence are not difficult to understand when viewed through the lens of risk. When individuals at the highest levels of influence are involved, speaking out carries consequences that extend beyond reputation. Careers can be affected, opportunities can disappear, personal safety can become a concern. In some cases, the perceived risk is enough to prevent any action at all. Ollie Carter has stated that after she went public, she lost nearly everything. Her home, her stability, her sense of normal life. No, and she is not someone with institutional support or protection. That context matters because it highlights the imbalance between those making claims and the systems they are describing. Also explains, at least in part, why silence can persist for as long as it does. And that is where the weight of this situation becomes harder to ignore. She is a person with no industry connections, no institutional backing, no built-in protection. Now consider the contrast. Someone on the outside with nothing to leverage and nothing to shield them can face that level of fallout just for speaking. It forces a different kind of question. What would it cost for someone deeply embedded inside that same system to step forward? The answer is not theoretical. It is implied in everything that has remained unspoken. Part of it is money. These systems, if they exist in the way being described, are sustained by it. Agreements get signed, silence gets formalized, situations get resolved quietly before they ever reach public visibility.
But the reality is 30,000 or more foster children come up missing every single year. And of those 30,000, 60% of them are sucked into human trafficking. And the victims aren't listened to. And it's heartbreaking. And I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry and to those other children that people are not listening. It's my heart to know that.
Uh-huh.
And I'm sorry. Now, it was going to happen. This was not the turn it was supposed to take. But because people are having such a hard time understanding that your story is valid, and it's not only your story, you're being a voice for so many others that are walking the same path right now. And I thank you for that. But the original story was supposed to be where you are now and where you're going in your future and where God has taken you. The great things that God is doing in your life right now. So why don't we go into that now?
Allegations are contained, narratives are managed, and over time, anything that could surface is either delayed or disappears entirely. That pattern is not unique to one case. It is a mechanism that has existed in different forms across multiple industries. And then, there is the part that is more difficult to confront. Not everyone involved needs to be directly responsible for something to continue. In some cases, it is enough to benefit from not asking questions, to remain present, to observe, and to choose not to act. That kind of passive participation is harder to define, but it plays a role in how environments like this are able to persist over long periods without interruption. There is precedent for this kind of silence breaking, but it rarely happens quickly. The case of Harvey Weinstein did not emerge overnight. It took years, and it required a large number of individuals to speak before any real accountability followed. That timeline matters because it shows how long systems can operate before they are forced into the open. The broader conversation around private islands, exclusive gatherings, and alleged networks reflects something similar. It is not centered on a single person. It points toward a structure that extends beyond one name, one location, or one moment. Ally Carter frames what she describes as part of that larger structure. Not as an isolated experience, but as something connected to a wider system. And that perspective, whether accepted or questioned, functions like a reflection. It shifts focus away from individuals and toward the environment that allowed those conditions to exist. That is where discomfort tends to increase, because it moves beyond blame and into responsibility at a broader level. So the question becomes less about one account and more about what it represents. Ally Carter is still speaking, still posting, still attempting to draw attention not only to what she says happened to her, but to others she believes are being overlooked. She is not promoting anything. There is no product attached to her story, no campaign built around visibility. From what is publicly visible, she remains consistent in her approach, regardless of the personal cost that has followed. She has stated that she lost nearly everything after going public, yet she continues to speak. That persistence is not easily explained through simple motives. Whether every detail she has shared is believed or not, the pattern of her actions remains the same. Showing up repeatedly despite being dismissed, despite facing consequences, despite receiving little to no institutional response. At that point, the situation leaves a different kind of question. Not one that demands an immediate answer, but one that stays present. What would drive someone to continue under those conditions? Years of being labeled, ignored, or discredited. Loss of stability. Repeated attempts to be heard without acknowledgement. And still, the same message delivered over and over again. The conversation does not resolve cleanly, does not provide a single conclusion that closes everything out. Instead, it leaves a set of overlapping realities. Verified information on one side, personal testimony on the other, and a growing space in between where more details continue to surface over time. That space is where attention remains, because it is not fully settled. If you are following this closely, then you already understand that stories like this do not move in straight lines. They unfold gradually, often unevenly, and not always in ways that feel complete. Street Wars will continue to track how this develops because what is being discussed here does not end with one narrative. It extends into a much larger conversation that is still taking shape.
Those are assault parties. And I was one of the kids that was one of the party favors. And a party favors means that you're set on top of a table and you're used as a toy for anybody who comes across the table or who wants to party at a certain time of night when the music stops and then the DJ starts flashing all these lights and they close the doors. And then everybody turns into like a frenzy and starts going into a crazed animal-like demonic state, and you have no idea what's going on. And yes, there was a time where I was just like completely don't give a shit what happened, and I was the type of kid that thought that, you know, you're in the presence of royalty and they make it seem like you're in the presence of Hollywood, so you should be honored and you should be appreciating that you're there. And I was that person. I totally acted like that. I was like, oh, it's fine, you know, it really doesn't matter. But then it really did matter when my pimp was like, he had rules. He had lots of rules, and it was more money. And if you know the difference between a pimp, a John, and a trafficker, the trafficker is the supplier, but the pimp is collecting the money and the John is doing the buying. So if the pimp is saying that Full House, actual, full-blown is it, by the way, kids, don't watch this. Goodbye. I love you. Goodbye. If you found my stuff, get off right now. This is the moment where I'm telling you I'm angry. I forgot to put that reminder in the beginning. Okay, cool. Goodbye. What was I saying? Full House. Thank you. If the pimp paid for, if there's rules to Full House, rules to anal, and there's rules to all kind of different jobs. Okay, so at a certain point, I was not brought or traded for, but that didn't matter, to a few celebrities that were there. It's not just celebrities, there's a lot of different people. They called it an all-black party, but it was mainly because a lot of the party favors were black kids. I was in the care of Riverside County Child Protective Services at the time. I was 15, barely 16. 15, 16. It's foggy. A lot happened that night, and I went really numb. And if there's videos or if there's anything that could go from that, then pull them. Because we all know that there's so many cameras around. So I can try to post the affidavits and I can put out what happened, but at the same time, what am I supposed to do? When nobody's really asking about the kids that are present in these parties now and were then, because they're really just going after all the celebrities and the adults, which I'm happy that we're finally here, and I'm grateful that we're finally pulling the names that need to be pulled and the big fishes that need to be pulled.
100 women have come forward and given testimony under oath about being assaulted.
Yeah.
And not one man is facing charges.
Yeah.
Not one man is in jail.
Yeah.
It's only one woman who is serving time around it. And I want to juxtapose that, Britt, around Diddy. So you have a RICO case.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
For one man. But Epstein has a whole conglomerate empire. But one man takes the fall for that, but a whole system is just saying, oh, well, this is just bad press.